Well, how are the overall scores lining up at the moment with 3 legs completed? And while Team Malizia won the last leg here, it's Team Holcim-PRB still looking strong with a 5-point lead that the Swiss team generated with 2 leg wins. Team Malizia have some ground to climb if Will Harris wants to take his team up from second to the top spot, but they're moving that way. After their leg win here, let's push them ahead of 11th Hour Racing Team and moving the American boat down into 3rd. Biotherm is currently in 4th. Skipper Paul Mayer very keen to see what the lighter winds of this leg mean for their lightweight boat. Lastly, Guyot Environnement-Team Europe now focused on fighting hard after retiring from the last leg. The boat is ready, the crew are hungry for the points that lie ahead. Fingers crossed, their bad luck is behind.
An inshore section, which is very much like the import race. It's a rectangular course where we're going to have a reaching start. Around Mark 1, Mark 2 is going to be a jibe, and then another reaching leg, attack. And it's going to be 2 laps of this course. They have to go through the start line each time, and then through between Mark 1 and 2 as the leaving gate before they head offshore up towards Newport. So there's no other marks until they get really near the finish.
Line as well. This is the final push to the line. Watch the flags to see if anybody is over. Biotherm also with a strong start, slightly to windward, and it was right on the line for 11th Hour Racing Team. There were no seconds left on the clock, and I didn't see any flags signifying anyone was over. That is a sterling start for Charlie Enright, fighting for every single last meter. I mean, Sam, there was a lot at risk there.
So that was, yeah,
on board now.
They're both being recalled. So 11th Hour and Guyot have had an individual recall. They were over the line early. So both of them are going to have to go around and recross the start line. So that gives Biotherm a really, really good start, and maybe Holcim-PRB escaping.
That would look like it was going to be absolutely perfect, and if they were only over by the narrowest of margins. But there we go. It means that they have to keep clear of Team Holcim-PRB. They have to cross the bows cleanly of the Swiss boat. And now, as you say, they'll jibe, they'll come round through that line, and this is going to be a long way back, because look at this, out in the lead, Biotherm and Team Malizia with some good breeze, some good heel there for the German boat. It looks to me, Sam, like we've almost had a little bit of a wind shift here, and the breeze is almost slightly more on the nose for this first reach. The boats certainly look quite powered up.
Yeah, they do look powered up, which is great. Obviously that's going to give them a real head start, and it's going to be a struggle to go around for Guyot in 11th Hour to restart. That's going to be a big loss to them. But yeah, great shots here of them reaching to Mark 1.
Well, after that start and after the disappointment for Guyot Environnement-Team Europe and 11th Hour Racing Team being called over the line and having to sail back through the line, this is probably a good time to bring in Mark Towell. There's a team member from 11th Hour Racing Team, and Mark, I did want to bring you in under other circumstances, but here's the replay from the virtual. I mean, this was close to the line here.
Yeah, incredibly close start. Obviously, a game of inches, but you know, both our team and Guyot Team Environmental clear the line and make sure they're getting back on track as quickly as possible.
It's going to have to be a pretty quick recovery, but of course, we are talking about 5,000 miles left to go for these teams.
Absolutely. This start in this first hour of racing.
We were racing our small one-person dinghies. You put your weight down to leeward. Here you can swing the keel down to the wrong side. We always think about those keels being up to windward, but you do have that little fine adjustment, I guess. And Guyot Environment-Team Europe and 11th Hour Racing Team will be looking for that little adjustment. They are, right now, they're a long way back, but let's not forget, in this kind of racing that we have seen here in Itajai, these tight corners, these 2-lap race courses, we saw some very late place changes. And just now for Biotherm, about to round Mark 2, having completed that short downwind. Their lead slightly less now than what it was, but that, I mean, Mark, that could just be the compression, the nature of that downwind section.
Yeah, absolutely. There's usually a bit of compression on this downwind leg. It's an interesting one because it is a downwind run. In a longer race course, we'd be putting up bigger sails and trying to maximize the ability to go downwind more efficiently. But because the run is so short, we're using these same J0s, and you know, it's just there ends up being a bit of compression there at the bottom.
Guyot Environment-Team Europe still chasing at the moment. coming round. Mark 1 at the moment, now downwind with 11th Hour Racing Team chasing. And I guess the big question is for fans of 11th Hour Racing Team and Guyot Environnement-Team Europe is, what are the conditions going to be like closer to the shore? Well, down on the water, we have got Thomas Julien, the IMOCA class measurer. He's been watching all of the in terms of who's putting those first moments in their own pocket. It is Team Malizia. Team Holcim-PRB almost looked like they were getting over the bow, but then the German boat just came up a little bit higher, and there, Sam, as you say, it's Nico Lundgren on the helm. And Sam, you've got to say, he's playing a very clever match racing game here.
Yeah, I think those two boats, there'll be a lot of concentration and a lot of stress. I know that both Kevin and Nico are very, very competitive sailors. You can see, is that Chris Pratt, I think, just behind Nico as well. And they'll have forgotten that this leg is over 5,000 nautical miles. They'll just be trying to get round the next mark ahead of the other one. Probably occasionally someone on board might remind them that they need to not do anything too stupid and take care of the boat around this inshore part.
Biotherm in the lead at the moment here for the inshore section of leg 4, the departure from Itajai. Paul Meyer sailing out towards that first mark, the first mark of lap 2, the same one that they rounded before, and they had a lead the last time they were here, but that lead has built even more since then. 663 meters is the gain for Paul Meyer. Will Harris, the skipper of Team Malizia, in second place, a little bit behind. And Mark, you know, we have seen from some of the other shots the sail shape on board, Biotherm, small differences here. It seems like it's all adding up for something quite good.
Yeah, the Biotherm boat just looks great going through.
Sensible play then for Team Malizia, knowing when to come off the gas and think about the long game, as Guyot Environnement-Team Europe round behind them in 4th place, and 11th Hour Racing Team getting themselves set up for their attack. Let's go down on the water now to Thomas Julien and get an idea as to what the race is looking like from the water.
Yeah, I'm next to Biotherm at the moment, and it looks like the wind is picking up slightly because I can see the main coming off a little bit. It's important to note that during the inshore section they most probably won't use the water ballast as it takes too much time to transfer and to fill and empty. But I'm guessing now that they're on course for a little bit longer, they'll start to fill in the water ballast, maybe pull the windward foil up and get really into an offshore groove now.
11th Hour Racing Team are going to be getting themselves in that offshore groove now as the boats finish that tight inshore rounding as the leg 4 from Itajai to Cape Town gets underway. Mark, 11th Hour Racing Team complete their attack, their last attack of this section of the course, and it looked to me to be a little bit of a slow one here. Still cautious sailing, thinking about the miles ahead.
Yeah, slow tack, but got through all clean. I think interesting to note that they have 4 sheets on the J0 right now, the red sheets and then those yellow ones, and they're probably getting themselves set up to be able to, you know, move the sail from the inshore course with reaching an upwind to potentially more of a downwind setup in the longer term.
This is, I guess, what Thomas was talking about, and Sam, it is something that with your IMOCA eye, you always notice as well, as we see Biotherm about to go through that leaving gate and out into the open ocean. This is the moment when all those other toys, the foils, the water ballast, rudders coming up and down, everything can start coming into play as you've got a bit more space to use it.
Yeah, and I think maybe right now as we're watching, we might be able to see that windward foil slowly being ground back in, and sure they do have that psychological advantage over the other teams who maybe are a little bit more tired and worn out. So they'll be loving it.
Mark, it's just interesting here, as we know that all these boats are enjoying these conditions, as Sam was saying here, the toys that they've got to play with. Look at that mast there with that radar system that we've got in front. I mean, the mast it's twisted, it's a rotating mast. That's very interesting for a trimmer to be able to play with.
Yeah, the wing mast there without any spreaders, it allows the mast to rotate, and it's another control, a really important control system for adding depth to the mainsail and also reducing aero drag. The radar, an incredibly important tool, not only for safety, but also for identifying clouds and weather cells, which, as they're going through the doldrums or even with what's coming up in the next couple of days, is going to be utilized quite a bit.
Sam, I know that you're very much a navigator. You understand the science of exactly what's going on here with all these systems, radar systems and satellite images of what's going on. How much preparation have the teams, specifically the navigators as well, how much have they done to understand what is coming down the racetrack?
They'll have been looking at the weather for over the last 5 days to prepare this leg as much as possible. Obviously, once you take the start, you're not allowed any outside help, so there's no weather routing allowed. It's just the skipper, the navigator, the crew on board who download the raw weather data and who make all the decisions themselves with the routing. So you look at everything to prepare your road book, so to speak. They'll have been looking at currents. Obviously, at the end of the leg there's the Gulf Stream, but before that we've got some really strong currents around the northeast coast of Brazil. There's a lot of oil fields, so there's other obstacles to avoid, some exclusion zones. There's even whale migration zones to take into account. But yeah, the weather is really, really important, and I think over the next 3 or 4 days it's going to be really, really shifty, and you've got an idea of the large-scale pattern, but what is going to make the difference is the local stuff, so the shifts, the rain squalls, and that's what we can see, as Mark was saying, with the radar, with the latest weather information, so we can download.
Modes here, Sam, but I guess that a lot of the boats are kind of forced into one mode or the other, depending on the decisions that have been made earlier on today about what sails they're taking, but potentially about decisions that were made even before then in terms of the shape of their boat and exactly how it is balanced. But the decisions at the moment that Biotherm have made are still playing out very well. We saw that lead up at around about 900 meters, but it is still pretty strong, just a shade under 800 meters. It was between them and Team Malizia at one point. Now Team Holcim-PRB is firmly in second place, looking very strong, stretching away from the German boat. In third place with Guyot Environnement-Team Europe in fourth, and 11th Hour Racing Team back in fifth place as we stretch our way away from the Brazilian coast. So this is the point now where our teams can start sailing a little bit freer. We are out into the open sea. The next mark of the course, the next point that they have to worry about is a very long way away. An enormous distance between them and the point, all the way out towards the northeast. 500 miles to go before they are forced around the work. Team Holcim-PRB are certainly in that fight, pushing out towards the northeast off the Brazilian coast. It has been some pretty impressive sailing at the moment, as we can just see Biotherm in the background, just as Team Holcim-PRB and the other French boat. A big difference in their sailing modes. Team Holcim-PRB sailing high, Biotherm out in the lead, and this is where they are at the moment. Biotherm right now in first place with Team Holcim-PRB in second, and happy to keep Team Malizia in third place. Guyot Environnement-Team Europe in fourth, and 11th Hour Racing Team in fifth place. Both those teams having to return to the start line after a tricky start here in Itajai.